Greetings, Longhorn families. Welcome back to another video. My name is Mr. James, and today we're going to discuss representing fractions on a number line. All right, so taking a look at what we're going to learn today, we're going to break down the TEKs. So if you look at the TEKs, today we're working with TEK 3.7a. 3.7a states represent fractions, or students will be able to represent fractions of halves, fourths, and eighths as distances from zero on the number line. We're also going to be breaking down another TEK here. The TEK that we're also going to work with is TEK 3.3b, which is to determine the corresponding fraction greater than zero and less than or equal to 1 with denominators 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8 given a specified point on the number line. All right, so let's go ahead and dive right into it. So look in here, I have some number lines on the board. Again, we're representing fractions. If we take a look, let's take a look at this number line right here. All right, the way I like to go ahead and break this number line down, remember, we're working from the distance of 0 to 1. We have two whole numbers here. Our whole numbers are 0 and our whole numbers of 1. So what do these represent? What do these lines represent? Well, they represent the intervals that come before 1. All right, so the way that you do this is you just can simply jump count. So this will be 1, this will be 2, this will be 3, this will be 4, this will be 5, this will be 6, and this will be 7. All right. You can also do this by taking a look at the intervals between the ticks that you have. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So how many total parts do we have on the number line? Well, officially, this whole, or this one, makes 7 over 7 parts, which of course equals a whole. So now that we understand what our whole is, we can just simply replace our denominators here. We already have our numerators with our whole number of 7. So let's go ahead and do that. This will make 1/7, 2/7, 3/7, 4/7, 5/7, 6/7, and of course you have 7 over 7, and that will be your whole number there. All right, let's take a look at this one here. So I'm going to use that same strategy, but this time I want to use the intervals. All right, so if I take a look at this, I'm going to count this interval. So if I jump from this one, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. What was the last number that we ended up on? How many total parts do we have? That's right, we have 10. So since we know that our whole number here, 1 makes a whole, guess what our denominator is going to be? 10 over 10, because remember, when a numerator and a denominator are the same, that makes a whole. So in this case, we can go ahead and give every number we have here our new denominator of 10, because we have 10 total parts on this number line. And guess what? If I told you to identify what this point right here would be, you would tell me, boom, that would be 6 out of 10. All right. So in this case, our whole was 10. And now we understand how we can use the jumps and the intervals on the number line. All right, so now let's take a look at this type of number line here. Remember, a few days ago, we talked about fractions and the definition of fraction. If we remember closely, the definition of fractions are essentially equal parts of a whole or set. What was the key word I just gave you? Equal. All right, so let's take a look at this number line. That also not only goes to shapes, but this also goes to number lines. Essentially, today I gave you a problem, and it has something to do with this. I highlighted this portion of the number line and asked you to determine what the fraction was. What's one thing you notice about this number line that some people may not notice? Some people will instantly start counting, but isn't this too much of a gap to start counting? This is not equal, so therefore this would not have a fraction to it. There's too much space in between the two intervals that we have. Why is it that I'm jumping all the way over here, but then right here I jump to that little section there? Not really something that I think will be beneficial in this case. All right, so we can identify a fraction here. Now let's go over to this number line right here. This time I went ahead and I put the intervals a little bit closer together, and I also put the whole numbers there, and as you can see, there is more than one whole number. So let's go ahead and just zoom in a little bit here. All right, so I'm going to show you how to do this. What I like to do is identify my parts, just like we've been doing. If you take a look here, if I jump Remember, anything that comes before 1 is just a normal fraction. So in this case, what's going to happen is this will be, so this is 1, 2, 3, and then guess what? This 1 makes 4. So our whole here will be 4 over 4. So guess what? I can go ahead and label our denominators out of 4 parts. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and then we have 4/4. But what do I do now? I have a 1. Do I keep counting with the 4s or no? Well, let's take a look at that. Now you have a brand new whole number here. Well, essentially what you do is you would take this whole number and that will go before your fraction because this is just a fraction of 1. Now we're getting into the fractions of 2s. So the way that that looks like, how we write a fraction of 1, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. So it took us 4 jumps to get to the next whole number. So 1, 2, 3, and this whole number made 4. Now, what is our whole number that comes before the fraction? Our whole number is 1. At this point, we're not paying attention to any of this part of the number line. We're right now focusing on where this 1 is. So this will be 1 and 1/4. This will be 1 and 2/4. This will be 1 and 3/4. And this will be 1 and 4/4. All right? So it's a little cluster to understand. But essentially, you will put your whole number of 1 in front of the fraction because right now we're working with numbers after 1. So I'm going to show you this time, I'm going to show you a bigger picture, but this time with 2. All right, so let's take a look at 2. How many jumps does it take us? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know we can go ahead and label this 1, 2, 3, and this makes here 4. All right, now before you get confused, remember, what's our whole number that we are dealing with before we get to the next one? 2. Our whole number is 2. We're working with 2 before we get to the next whole number. So essentially, instead of this, I could always say all my fractions will go ahead and start with 2. And I'll put 2 right here as well. Okay, so to jump from this number to the next interval will be what? 1. And how many total parts did we just say we had? Well, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So this will be 2 and 1/4. The next one will be 2 and 2/4. The next one will be 3 and 3/4. And the next one will be 2 and 4/4, which made an official whole. All right, so this is how you worked with, these are called mixed numbers. Okay, this is how you work with the mixed numbers. Remember, we're talking about the whole numbers here. These are our whole numbers right here. And typically what we do is we work with where we stop the fraction. So everything from this point forward will be its own self. Everything from this point forward will be its own. And then of course, everything from this point forward will be its own as well. All right, let's give it some more practice. Now I'm going to show you what to do with this number line right here. So if I take a look at this, I have 56. Let's go ahead and count how many. Our two whole numbers are 56 and 57. Let's count how many spaces we have until we get to 57. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is our whole number? Our whole number is 56. So this one right here will be 56. And what space is this? 1. And what was the total amount of spaces we had till we got to the next number? 5. So this is 56 and 1/5. This space right here will be 56 and what? What space is this? 2 what? 2/5. Very good. Let me rewrite that. 56 and 2/5. Let's look at this one right here. I'm only writing it down like this so you can see it. What space is this? So we know that our whole number is 56. What space would this be? 56 and what? What's the space we're on now? This is 1, 2, what comes next? 3. So this is 56 and 3 what? 3/5 because we have 5 total parts. And then you would do the next one, which would be 56 and what? What's the next number after 3? 4/5. What do you notice? You notice that we're still counting by 1, 2, 3, 4, and our denominator is clearly staying and our whole number is also staying the same. All right, so when we talk about a whole number like this, 56, and we'll take 1/5, you're just going to go to the next number. So next it will be 56 and 2/5, 56 and 3/5. You're just continuing to go to the next number. What will come next? 56 and 4/5. All right. So what this represents is this is the 4th space out of the total amount of spaces. All right. I gave you 2 numbers. Now let's work with them. So here I have 5. How many What do you think this would be here? Okay, so this will be 4. Here's our whole number. What's in between? Half. So this will be 4 and a half. Okay, so now we can go ahead and kind of work with this and fill this out. How do I know that it's 4 and a half? Because if you take a look, how many times? 1, 2. So there are 2 total parts. So 2 total. And we're only on the very first space. Clearly, we are on the first space. Okay. So now let's take a look. If this is 4, 4 and a half, 5, what will come next? 5 and a half. Okay, see, look. 1, 2. So this will be 5 and a half. Okay, so we got 4, 4 and a half, 5, 5 and a half. What do you think will come next? 6. So this next section will be 6. Now we're at 3 whole numbers. Let's keep going. So we've got 4, 4 and a half, 5, 5 and a half, 6, 6 and a half. Right? What will come after that? 6 and a half. We already got one whole number. We got our half. Now we're on to our next whole number, which will be 7. What will come after the 7? 7 and a half. Right? What will come after the 7 and a half? 8. So now, what you identified, here are all of our whole numbers. Right here. And what comes after each whole number? Half, right? Half comes out of each whole number. So we got 4 and a half, 5 and a half, 6 and a half, and 7 and a half. All right. So with this being said, that is how you identify and represent fractions on a number line using mixed numbers. Hope you enjoyed the video.